Alright, we're going to show you how to take apart your primary clutch on a Skidoo 2007 XRS. Now I have a team secondary, so what the teams gives you this special little tool. If anybody's wanting to look for an aftermarket clutch, I recommend the team secondaries. Your belt will run a lot cooler, your clutches will be a lot cooler for pulling long mountains, and that's what I do a lot of is mountain riding here. And this is in Montana. So this spreads apart the sheave and allows you to pull your belt off. The part number, I think it's a 377 series. But anyhow, put that there. Now, to keep the clutch from moving, they sell a special tool. It's supposed to go over here and hold that from moving, but what I'll use is this here. I'll stick it there, use my 21mm wrench to break it off. So we're going to pause it right now and I'll do that. And then we'll use our puller, this right here. You can buy it at Skidoo or Western Power Sports or wherever you can find a distributor that sells those pullers. And then we use a 22mm wrench, and I'll use the hammer butt in, this hammer here, use that, stick it there again to keep it from turning on me so I can pop it off. Now these are kind of a buggered if you haven't they haven't been removed in a long time. They get rusted on the inside on the shaft, so sometimes they can be really hard to get to pop off, but it'll pop off and slide right off. This whole section here, they stay together. So we'll do that right now. Alright, quite a bit of force, but see, that pulls off. And there's the shaft that it slides on. You know, always take some steel wool, clean it up with some steel wool. Make sure your seal's not leaking here. Our seal looks good. If you blow a belt, a lot of times the threading will go around and tear that seal up. If that happens on you and you make it out, definitely replace that. These 4 bolts come out here. You can see them right here. They're a star. Those can be kind of a bugger to get out. Don't strip them. I had one stripped out on me, the head. So if you have one of those impact screwdrivers, screw sets to get in there, hit it and twist it and get it to come out. Make sure you put Loctite back in there. There's a special seal grease that Skidoo makes that you got to put in those bearings. Don't use any other type of seal grease. There's a special seal that goes inside those bearings back behind there. So if you get that out, make sure you get all the threading out, pull the seal out, tap the new one in. Make sure you put that seal grease, special seal, I don't remember what it's called, but Skidoo is the only one that makes it, so make sure you get that seal. So we'll go on and tear apart the rest of the clutch and steps. So we're going to finish the steps of pulling this apart here. Like I said, this slides off completely. And then you have that shaft there. It's always a good idea to clean that up with some Scotch-Brite. Make sure this surface is clean. Look for wear marks. If it's oblong or not wearing right, unsmooth, that needs to be replaced. So this comes apart by just pulling it straight up. Now, normally I use my other hands. You can see those buttons just popped out. There's buttons there, and so on. But I'm not going to worry about it too much. These are your ramps right here. And right, I don't know if you can see very well. There's a screw right down there. Those are used for balancing the clutch. This rubber piece here is a balancing system for your primary. It helps balance the motor out and the clutch out at the same time. Now I take a look at the ramps. Make sure there's no uneven wear marks, any gouges or anything in there. If there are, you need to replace them. I run 415 ramps. I have a 162 track. I do a lot of mountain riding, and I think 415s are the ones that were stock with the XRS model for mountain sled. What I like to do is take some Meguiar's and a paper towel and just rub that up and down and get that nice and smooth. And the smoother you get that, the easier that roller is going to move up and down. Your clutch is going to shift in and out nice and smooth. So some Meguiar's, just some paper towel or a cloth, and just rub it back and forth with your hand. It'll get nice and smooth and clean. So that's the part. Now, here are our buttons. Now there's an O-ring right here. If that is cracked, torn, so on, that needs to be replaced. There's a groove on that too, on the button. If that's worn all the way down where there's no more groove, that needs to be replaced. If it's shiny silver, I think they have to be replaced too. Okay, so then here's our rollers, and we want to check if there's any play back and, holding that sail up and down. Do they spin smoothly? If there's a lot of play in there, up and down, they need to be replaced. Rollers will only last for so long. They're about 20 bucks a piece, depends on where you buy them from. But definitely replace those if they're going out. That will affect your shifting and everything and the performance of your sled. And then these grooves right here where the buttons go in, I like to clean them up with some steel wool or some Scotch-Brite. Don't put any grooves in there, just clean them up so they're nice and smooth. You can also just take the whole clutch, soak it in some hot soapy water and clean any dirt you got, any stuff, sediment in there. Okay, this is the cup here that holds the spring inside there. Right here on my fingers is a bushing. That wears out, and then there's a bushing. Here's my pins. Right in here. You can take there's a snap ring on the other side inside. Once you take the cup off, the spring comes out, and then collar, that comes out, and there's a ring, a little snap ring kind of inside. Take a screwdriver and pull it and pry it around and get that out. Don't break it or bend it too much. And then you can take your clutch and either get a socket or something that fits perfectly in there. It's kind of hard to find one. What we've done is just taken a screwdriver and kind of worked it down a little bit and then just kind of tapped it out. From the factory, they come with Loctite on the outside of that bushing. The bushings are cut in half, so when they get put together, fills that gap and they get pressed together back in there. So once you push it out that way, get it out, clean the inside of that out with some Scotch-Brite or a wool pad or whatever. Clean this surface. You can see mine's getting dinged up because the clutches are hitting each other from shifting out too much. Make sure that's smooth. So then when you get the new bushing, just kind of tap it in there flat with a piece of wood or a flat surface, kind of just tap it in there. You don't have to press it in there. Get it down enough that you can get that ring back in there and make sure it's, set. There's a lip down there. You'll see it when it sets back in there. I've already replaced mine this year. It's a good idea every year to replace that major bushing right there, because that bushing goes out pretty fast. It's not very wide in diameter, and with Skidoos primaries, they just wear fast. If you keep that bushing tight all the time, your rollers will last longer, this other bushing will last longer, your buttons will last longer, and you'll get better performance out of your machine. Your clutches don't work, you're just wasting horsepower. I don't care how much horsepower you got out of the motor. If your clutches don't work and shift, you won't have fun in the woods and in the powder, and it just won't work good for you. So always maintain your clutches every year. Every fall, pull them apart. I like to pull my clutches apart after I get done with the riding season, pull this spring out, because that spring, after sitting there even not moving, it weakens the tension of that spring in there. So if you pull the cap off, if you park your sled in the garage, you can pull it off, pull the primary off, pull that cap apart, leave the parts all setting, and then leave that spring uncompressed, and then it won't weaken over the summertime sitting there. So that's just some recommendations to do. Always use Loctite back on these here, just a little bit, not a whole lot. You don't want those coming undone. You can push down with your hand really hard and undo these Allen bolts, and they'll come out, and this will kind of just pop off. I recommend with another person, that way you can have a 2x4 right here, and then another guy pushing down on, because that spring is very hard to hold down with just one hand, and to get these bolts lined back up so you don't strip the threads. So it's best to have, or unless you got a spring compressor, and you can buy the tools and do that. These rollers here have a hole down here. The aluminum ones, you can add little Allen screws in there to add weight to your clutches for your shift point. Some of them are just solid pins in there, but I have the aluminum ones. This is an XRS model, primary clutch. So definitely, if these rollers are bad, definitely replace those. I mean, if you get a lot of movement in there, just a tad's alright. They should be pretty snug though. When brand new, they're snug. And that bushing, when you put it back on here, put everything back on, take that cap off, move it side to side like this, and up and down. But if you get a lot of side to side movement, that bushing's going out on you. And I mean, you can ride it with it a little loose, but for me, for being up in the mountains as far as I go, security of knowing my sled's going to run great, I just replace them every year. Just a security of mine, and they're only like $15 or something, so it's not, you know, that big of a deal. So, and these are the little Allen pins that I'm talking about, that you can add the weights in there for your shift points. I like to have mine set around 3 to 4 in the mountains, running about 82 to 8300 RPMs. And it should hold there when I'm climbing deep powder. And if it's not holding there and it drops down to 7900 when I'm in the deep powder, it means I need to either pull some of these pin weights out, or put a stiffer spring. My spring's weakening. I mean, you can change the ramps, but you get better takeoff torque on the bottom end with the ramp set at 2 or 3 with these ramps that I have, 415s. So I hope that helps some of you guys out. Now, remind you, there's an arrow here, and this arrow on the cup with this little dink right here need to be lined back up when you put it together. And then there's that arrow there, needs to be lined up when you put it together. And then on the back of the sheave, there's a notch right there. Make sure those are all lined up when you push it all back together. I assemble it all back together, put it on there, then I go and put it on the sled, and then torque it down. They say to torque it down to 50, ride it a little bit, and then re-torque it down to 80 or 75. I just torque it down to 50, I turn the clutch a little bit, and then I just torque it down to 80, and I run it like that. So I hope that informs a lot of you guys out there on how to work on your primaries.